Welcome back to the Season 3 World Championship, coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. We're just minutes away from our third match of the day, Team Solo Mid versus SKT. But first, I'd like to welcome OMG support Big Pomelo to the interview lounge. Welcome, congratulations, amazing victory. Tell us about the Annie support you ran. How do you build her? How do you like to play her? Because it's something we've seen from Rael's Tabe a lot.
他问的问题是你为什么会选择安妮这个辅助？你是怎样用这个辅助的？因为之前在那个皇族的比赛中，他也看到有人选择安妮这个辅助。
因为我们觉得这个辅助很强，而且我们在某一些阵容上会用到它，所以就使用了。
I think Annie is a pretty OP champion, and it really fits our team for the team fights, so we choose this champion.
So that's what you ran with. Tell us how the game went for you guys. Coming into this, GG, the underdog, and it went very well for you guys. How did the game go for him?
你觉得那个现在这场游戏，包括之前这些游戏打得怎么样？自己？
我觉得我们队伍对这次比赛很重视，然后我们每一个人发挥都很好，而且我们的团队之间配合都很好。
They really pay a lot of attention on the games, and we focus on our teamwork and coordination, and we have good performance for each of our players. So that's why we had a very pretty good results now.
Okay. Now, in the qualifiers leading up to here, you had Koma playing as support. You now have the first spot as support. How happy are you with your performance up to now?
就是之前是由那个达七来做辅助的，然后现在换成了你，那你是觉得你打辅助打的表现和发挥是怎么样的？
首先我觉得他也是一个很强的辅助，但是我来打比赛是因为我们都是来尊重团队的要求，团队需要什么我们就来表现团队需要的那一面，所以我觉得我打得还不错，然后。他玩的也很好。
I think Kama is a very strong player as a support, and our selection of the player is based on the arrangement of the team, and we try to do the best for the team.
Okay. Now, you guys are 5-0 right now, a very big chance to be moving on to the playoffs, and you're going to be up against TSM, the home team here. How do you think that match will go?
你们现在打得不错，然后你们即将要打 TSM 了，然后也是美国的主场队伍，然后你觉得你怎么看待接下来这场比赛？
我觉得 TSM 在美国的人气非常的高，然后我觉得他们也是很强的队伍，特别是他们的下路。但是我觉得我们队伍还是要发挥我们一贯的风格嘛，比较凶狠，然后稳，就很稳的风格。我觉得我们应该还是能战胜他们的，肯定能战胜。
I think TSM is a pretty strong team. It has a lot of supporters in here, especially for their bottom lane. It's very powerful. And for us, we're just trying to keep up our style, the aggressive and fast style. And we do have confidence in our team.
Okay, thank you very much. Looking forward to that matchup later on. And for now, let's head over to D-Man and Freak at the caster desk for the battle between SK Telecom T1 and the crowd favorite, Team Solo Mid.
Thank you very much, Shox. And now it is indeed time for our third match of the day. North America's Team Solo Mid up against Korea's SK Telecom T1. Before their match, back on day 3, we talked a lot about the war of words between Reggie and SKT. Reggie criticized the Korean players. SKT's coach said he would silence Reggie, and the crowd once and for all. And while SKT was able to walk away with a win, I don't exactly think anyone here in the audience has lost faith in Reggie and his team.
No, not at all. And in fact, to the crowd's credit as well, they were just as loud for SKT when they made some good moves as well. So I do like that a lot. But this match was really, really close. 21-13 is a pretty close kill score. But unfortunately for TSM, a lot of early individual mistakes pushed SKT ahead. Now, both these teams started out with early game tower dives. Dyrus pulled back. He didn't get caught out by it, but Xpecial actually pulled turret aggro too early and failed the 3-on-1 dive. Dyrus himself actually then came back into his lane, got camped, and had a really rough time of it. Had a really, really bad Rumble game, whereas Impact, getting those ganks at the top lane from SKT, had a much better time of it. And then once they had the early game lead, honestly, SK Team just closed it out. They set a bunch of traps, TSM walked into them, SKT closed out the game.
And this rematch, well, it could almost mean the worlds for SK Telecom. A win against Reggie and TSM would nearly guarantee them a spot in the quarterfinals.
That's right. So if SKT wins this match, the worst they could finish is 5-3, and the best TSM could finish is 5-3. Now, SKT would then have a 2-0 record over TSM and own the tiebreaker. So what would also have to happen is that not only does TSM have to win out if they were to lose here, then SKT loses out if they win here, but then OMG has to also fall down to 5-3 and make a three-way tie. And that would be the only hope for TSM if they don't win this game here.
Absolutely. So, while the odds of making a quarterfinal seems stacked against TSM, if Reginald has proven anything over the last couple of years, it is he's not afraid to put the work in or take the risks necessary to reap the big rewards.
I'm Andy, TSM Reginald. I play mid lane for TSM, and I'm the owner of TSM, and I also manage the business side as well.
There's nobody like Reggie in this scene. The last person that even came close was Hotshot, and he's already done.
I've been playing the game for very long. I just started to play it because I was good at it.
When we first started playing it, it's beyond our wildest imagination, thinking that it could even reach this size.
Think about it this way, I've been playing League of Legends since there was only 100 people playing the game. And now 32 million people are playing it on a monthly basis. So Dan started a blog, and so we would just constantly try to teach people how to play the game, and we started to build a following since then.
Not many people are that ambitious. He saw a huge opportunity and he took it and he did really well with it. Really ambitious, really smart, so big risk, big reward.
We're the only team that has made it to Worlds 3 times so far, and I mean, it's been a tough road. Like, every single time we've been to Worlds so far, we've always fell short.
The weight and the tasks that he has to deal with on a day-to-day basis is getting really heavy.
We're playing 12 hours a day. I'll spend like 2 or 3 hours on the business side of things, and then at the same time, I have to keep the girlfriend happy. And at the end of the day, I'm just taking a lot of hours away from my sleep, and it's very, very tiring and time-consuming.
Reggie is a very, very impressive person when you consider all of these things and that he can play at a top level at the same time.
He's gonna have to make a choice. You know, do I find someone to focus on the business, or do I find a player so I can focus on the business?
I'm very passionate about my brand. I'm very passionate about being a pro player. If I'm giving up one, I'm still going to be TSM's coach. I'm still going to be their analyst, and I'm still going to put in as much effort as possible.
We're an immigrant family. We came here with the clothes on our back and $50. And so growing up, it was not hard, but it was never really easy.
I'm really happy for what I've accomplished, but I'm not satisfied. I follow sports where a lot of professional athletes, they end up going bankrupt. My maturity with money came from, I would have to say my mom, mainly because she was basically a single mom raising 7 children. She would cook meals for us, she would try her best to save money, and she would never buy things that she didn't need. But from my perspective, I'm always working on the entrepreneur side of things. I'm always trying to look to invest my money wisely to make sure that I have a safe and secure future.
He's only like, what, 21 years old now? That's just amazing for that age. I could never imagine doing that. All I want to do is just sit on my butt and just play video games all day.
I'm definitely very proud of him. I've seen the transformation and the growth, and he continues to push that.
I was extremely lucky and blessed that I was given this opportunity through just playing a game. At the same time, I created the opportunity by really working hard, but that's how life is. You're not going to find success if you don't take risks.
Really is an amazing story, and you and I have been around, luckily enough, to see Reggie effectively grow up in the scene. And you cast your mind back to season 2. He was talking of retiring then, and the pressure is still on him.
It is, and you know, he talked about at the very end about taking the right risks, and those risks have paid off for him. He's done, an incredible job making TSM a great team, and here they are, fighting for a quarterfinal spot on the world stage. I gotta say, as far as running a gaming team goes, this is a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, third year running. So let's check out those lineups. On the blue side, it is TSM. So the top laner, of course, is going to be Dyrus, the odd one in the jungle. Reginald in that mid lane. Wild Turtle as the AD carry, and X Special the support.
And in the Scarlet letters is SK Telecom T1 with Impact in the top lane, Bengi in jungle, Faker in mid. There's the, Piglet on AD carry, and Pumandu on support.
So these guys met last time. It was a pretty close run match, but it was SK Telecom that came out on top. They turned it around in that mid game, and that is really their strong point once they turn that game around. What is TSM going to do differently in this match to try and turn things around?
They've got to basically remove those little mistakes they keep making. This is actually kind of what separates the really top teams from the almost there, like the S tier from the A tier, is that obviously these guys are good enough. We've seen Dyrus win lanes against people as good as Impact. We saw Reginald hold up against Faker, right? Like, we thought that was actually going to happen coming into that in a straight up 1v1. So that skill individually is there, and the strategic skill is there. It's SKT makes way less mistakes than TSM. If TSM gets that good run where they make right choices, they're fine.
So the bans coming through thick and fast. Caitlyn being taken away as the first ban by TSM, along with Ariana, Vi, and Shen taken away. So no Z-Vi combos like TSM ran the first time around, and maybe that was what they were looking towards, which has already been countered. You can see the fact that Zed is yet to be taken away. Ari also available, so one of those is about to get through this ban phase.
And the thing is, last time these guys played, SKT first picked Ari the second it came through, and Reggie played Gragas. This time around, you know Ari or Zed are going to come through, both of these champions that Reggie likes. And SKT basically gets to say, look, do we give them one? Do we choose which one do we give them? Do we pick a matchup somewhere else?
Ooh.
And for the second time, they banned Fiddlesticks, so they give Reggie Zed here. He's going to lock that in. Of course he will.
So Reggie went for Zed. Renekton being thought of here, actually, by impacting that top lane. Went with Singed the last number of times, and Corki may be going to come out. Obviously, they've no reason to go for Ari now because they feel it's going to be safe.
Exactly. There's no reason to really rush this. Now, when you were Fnatic, Soaz got to run it, but although Dyrus has been growing his champion pool, he's been playing some Karthus recently, for example, maybe he learned Zed as well, and suddenly TSM goes, surprise, we're going to play Ari Zed together. I just think it's very unlikely. So you're right, SKT gets to hold back, play a very, very safe bottom lane. This does, however, give Special Thresh whenever he wants it, and that is a scary thing, because now you're SK2 who relies on pick comps, and you've given TSM the ability to run a pick comp.
Yep, now you have gone with Sona before, remember, of course, but Corki coming in there. What are we expecting Wild Turtle to go with? Because we've often seen him on Caitlyn. Hell, I seem to recall that was his first pentakill champion, Caitlyn, back in the North American LCS, which I obviously had the privilege to call, but what are we expecting to come out from the AD carry support? You've already talked about Thresh. Do we think something different is going to come out?
Yeah.
Is it going to be the Rat?
Twitch is actually a very good call here, because it does a number of things for these guys. So first off, depending on how well equipped your opponents are, Twitch actually makes for a very good split pusher, because you can stealth and get out of there. And if they have an Oracle's or Pink board, then it's harder or whatnot. But because Thresh is still available there, because Thresh can still be locked in for Special, Twitch has an escape suddenly.
Ooh, well.
Yeah, we saw this last time. Maybe it's going to happen. Maybe it goes Ari.
Yep.
So we'll talk about Twitch for a second, though, because now with the Thresh Lantern, he has an escape tool here. And so despite Twitch being an unsafe AD carry, he's not Corki or Ez or whatever, he can put out crazy damage but also get out of fights. And so he has now he's sort of this glue for the team fights, is that TSM can play picks, can use Elise and Zed, but they can group together and rely on Wild Turtle as well.
Well, of course, using that Lee Sin for Bengi, as our champion is used to. We've already seen Riven, Faker already earlier on. So what are we going to see? Are TSM going to pull a rabbit out the hat? Are they going to pull something different out? Will it actually be Dyrus on that Zed? Will Ari suddenly make appearance? Annie being hovered over there briefly. Karthus.
Yeah, and
Dyrus.
Yes, and this is... Oh!
There is Annie.
Oh,
again, 2 games running.
That's interesting. I did not expect the one to come through here. I was talking about Thresh before. That's actually really interesting, because now TSM have turned their composition around. So it started out saying, You expect us to go for Thresh. We've got Zed and Elise. Look at all these things we're going to do, and we can keep Twitch alive. Now TSM are like, yo, dog, we're going to go for 5v5s. And with Elise, she can tower dive very, very well. We actually heard the interview from Big Camelo saying, yeah, when you bring out support Annie, it's really, really good. Monty Cristo talked about the 3v1 dives in mid lane. And Elise can make that happen, plus the Annie can make that happen. And you've got a 5v5 team. You've got Karthus, Twitch, Annie, all this area of effect damage is going to make it really hard for SKT to fight a real 5-on-5.
And that's, you think of the damage that the position is coming from. Where do you focus? Because you've got a Karthus in there putting Defile down layways. You've got a Twitch, which you normally ordinarily focus.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Zed's running wild around you. Are we going to see SK Telecom locking in Jax the first time of this tournament?
Yes, and that is important. That is a pick that these guys must run right now. Jax is one of the best counters in the game, potentially the best counter in the game, to a champion like Twitch who must auto-attack you and doesn't get away himself. Jax turns on the dodge, jumps on his face, and he will solo Wild Turtle. Wild Turtle will have a terrible time in teamfights, in addition to the fact that no one's going to stop Impact from split pushing by himself. So SKT can go rely on Impact in teamfights, and they can rely on him in the mid to late game as well as his side lane split pusher. And just to add more menace to that, he's going to fight a Karthus in a 1v1 who has no way of punishing him.
And let's not forget, obviously, Jax, with that Trinity Force coming in, will be very strong. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we're waiting for these two teams to spawn, let's see who the viewers think is going to walk away with this one. According to Lolly Sports, well, it's very close, ladies and gentlemen. 57% of you think that SKTT won. The crowd is not with TSM. Well, the crowd here is definitely with TSM, that's for sure. But you guys at home, you have confidence in the Koreans.
Yeah, and they did it last time, and the vote margin makes a lot of sense, because despite all the hype coming into it and how easy it was to say, I mean, yeah, TSM, but they never beat a Korean, and how all the hype was there behind SKT, that last game spoke volumes. TSM are like right there. You make one or two less mistakes and you're right there to pick up the win. The first ever Korean win for TSM. There's a real chance this is now their playoff hopes. They've got to win this one.
Well, a 0 for 15, is it now?
Yeah.
This could be the first time. Bayleave, I believe, is the term that a lot of people have been using. We'll see whether it works out for them. TSM, Reggie, just talking to him beforehand alongside Doublelift. They know the pressure. They know they have to win this game, or they're potentially out of the tournament. It is all on that team you can hear in the background. TSM as the blue team coming into this one with all the pressure of the North American supporters on their backs. Meanwhile, SK Telecom, they've already won one today. They are feeling pretty confident coming into this game.
Hold on, TSM runner Brush and Faker's nearby.
All
right, his team checked for it.
He's not going to find out. Piglet does take some damage from that early invade, though. And as it stands, they may continue pushing on here. SK Telecom getting in towards TSM jungle. Dyrus is just off to the side. He's in a dangerous, dangerous position here. Is anyone going to lock in towards him? No exhaust use. Counter-Strike may be close enough. Slow was there. But instead he turns around, puts some layways back on Impact.
And there's pink ward control now for SKT. And I'm trying to think if TSM actually saw Mondu run around there, because they could have known that he had a pink ward and then saw him again without a pink ward and inferred that there was vision control over that buff. TSM can play around that fact. They could sweep the ward out or simply make an invade of their own somewhere else. And we can see actually still a lot of teams close together at this level 1.
Very tense stuff here. SK Telecom trying to get that ward control. Mandu is the man forward at the moment. And even now, you can see SK Telecom, they are unsure of the risk, backing out. They did get that ward down at the red buff. And it seems that everybody's safe to back away from this one. Piglet is making his way down this river. And yeah, he's wisely getting over to the far edge of this time around.
Yeah, TSM actually, I'm trying to think if they would actually spot the champions coming through. There's not enough vision there, so they don't, TSM don't guaranteed know where SKT's dual lane is going. TSM are basically locked into the lane assignments right here.
So Mandu does put that ward in river, backs away. Red buff will be going across to the old one. Red buff has gone across to Bengi, meanwhile, in that top lane with a little bit of help from Impact. So, lanes will be standard. We've already seen the mid lane. Faker on Riven up against a Zed. That was for Nuke last time around. This time it is Reginald for TSM. We'll see how that develops. But right now, there's a gank potentially on this top.
Dyrus does not know this is happening. Bengi has this for free.
Dyrus has got flash available along with exhaust, and well, he's feeling the pressure. The crowd are cheering him. He's trying to get away. He gets caught with the counter strike after the flash. Exhaust goes down, but that will be first blood for Bengi.
Well played by Impact. The flash stun catches Dyrus just in time. Oddman with a smart move does grab his own blue in time, but I don't think he can necessarily get to the other side of the map and get SKT's blue. So that gank was for pretty much no cost here.
Absolutely free kill in that top lane. Karthus, of course, very weak level 1, which is why they made full attempt on that one. Impact, of course, did use that flash ignite as well, so a lot of summoner spells burnt both sides, but more importantly, first blood and that big chunk of change going towards SK Telecom. Odd1 looking towards this mid lane, seeing if he can create any opportunities for Reginald on Faker.
Odd1's not going to be around there just yet. This lane does have kill potential, though. Twitch has high damage, Annie has high damage, and Sona does not have any escape tools. It's not hard for TSM to force that bottom lane down. We've seen it work before. But on the other side, you talked about the Odd1. What's important here is Bengi, because he got first blood. He could rush Boots' mobility. He could rush a Doran's Blade for more damage with his ganks. He could do a lot of things. And last time TSM did well because, or last time actually SKT, generally speaking, had some early game deficits, but with an early game lead this time, life will be difficult for TSM.
Bengi already going aggressive, round at the golems already, going to take those away, potentially pay a visit to the bottom lane. He's got the double buff still on him. Meanwhile, we see the Odd1 coming around this mid lane, throws out the cocoon, flash from Faker used.
Yep, and we can look at the mid lane and look that Reginald is basically tying Faker right now. There are some minions still for Faker to kill, but that matchup, by being a counter gank, is still close. But here's Bengi finding the Odd1.
His spider senses were tingling. He catches on towards Bengi.
He's not in range to Q.
Down. Hasn't trying to pull more damage down. The rest of the team, look, coming around the bottom. Special was coming up there. Didn't have stun available, but does force the flash from Bengi.
Special was too many spells away for having a stun up there. He'd been using his spells in the lane already, but that was all kinds of crazy. The stun landed and Dragon ran too far away for the second part of Q to be used by Bengi. That could have been close to a kill, because remember that Bengi had to use his flash to get away there.
So, Faker back in this mid lane. Has got a CS advantage building up over Reginald, and the Odd1 once again paying visit. This time he's deeper in the lane. Remember, flash was used before. See, Odd1 tries to close that gap. Not enough. Dyrus, meanwhile, in the top lane, puts that wall of pain down. It is going to be enough to keep Impact away, but he is low on health.
Dyrus is only down to one potion. No, sorry, he actually has 3 potions left. So Dyrus is spending a lot of money to sustain back up in this lane. But with that expenditure, he is keeping up in minion kills. Both these champions in the top lane are very good late game scaling champions. Both of them will do very, very well to carry a team fight. So we're going to kind of have to keep track of what happens there, because Dyrus has a global whilst Impact has to run around to help his team.
Faker's positioning on those dives from Riven has been spot on so far, not drawing aggro from that turret. Now he's going to go back. We'll see what he comes out with. Both mid laners started out with that Doran's shield. I think this time around we're going to see something a little bit more aggressive. He hasn't gone back, he cancelled it actually. But this top lane, Impact, obviously with that kill assist he got earlier on, has been controlling Dyrus pretty heavily. It is a strong lane, and Jax, you know, if left to farm alone, could be deadly. Odd1 though, trying to set up the gank here with Dyrus, but he's so tight to that turret. So many times we've said, don't dive on towards the Jax. Wall of Pain catches on towards him. It's not going to be enough damage, I don't feel, from TSM. And that will be Impact backing away, but he's low on that turret.
They get a lot of pressure on this, which is pretty important. Dragon is not yet on the table, but as soon as Reggie hits 6, he's likely going to look to push Faker out of lane. He's to level 6 now, actually, so when Faker comes back, we might see Odd1 get his smite cooldown, roam back to the bottom, and look for a play to shove Faker out of lane, and then go for a Dragon. Reggie's picked up pink wards to help secure this.
Reggie's gone full aggressive. You see the 2 longswords, but a Doran's Blade and a longsword for Faker instead. So he's feeling he needs that little bit more hit points. Probably expecting that from Reginald, actually. Meanwhile, Reginald is roaming. There's no wards in this bottom river area.
And you're not really seeing SKT react to this one. Reggie might get in for this one and pick up a kill.
Piglet and Mandu. Mandu hasn't hit level 6 yet. Crescendo not available. And we do see the aggression. Oh, he's backing away. Does he feel it? Special flashes. Tibbers goes down. He's going to be stunned. No, it's not Tibbers. I tell a lie. It's just the straight flames. but they all backed away, and that was a little too aggressive. You know, we heard Crepo talking about the aggressive plays, just giving away that tell.
That was really awkward by TSM. Reggie had already left that brush, started running back to the mid lane when Xpecial went in. SKT had already spidey sensed that Reggie left lane and said, hold on guys, he hasn't been back to lane in a really long time. They played it safe, Reggie left, and then Xpecial went in.
Straight away. Just before that level 6 this well, Piglet going aggressive in that bottom as well, using that Valkyrie across. Reginald just being pushed away by Faker, and again, perfect positioning just outside that tower range. But look at Bengi, so deep, so aggressive, countering all the time on the odd one. This time he may try and steal away that blue buff. Smite's not available for him, and I think he's just realized that the odd one is close by.
And look at the amount of respect he just gave there, even though they're both level 5, he's got teammates nearby. Bengi doesn't go for that just because he realized he might get caught out. Neither has Smite. Maybe they just go for it anyway.
They may well do. Faker's coming around the side. Level 6 just hit by Dyrus, but again, that is a blue buff steal. Dyrus actually only just hit 6, by the way. Impact already at 7 before he got there.
And look how big that minion kill lead is now spreading. 18 minions for the top laner for SKT. So all those plans that TSM had aren't really working out right now. Impact is constantly shoving. If his team wanted to actually rush Dragon, he could do that by running down the map.
Yeah, Piglet pulling up a bit of a CS lead as well in that bottom, and you can see it's already developed to nearly 20 CS. We did see Wild Turtle, of course, missing out on a wave, which would counter for at least 6 of those. Piglet, they are holding that lane. They are not backing away. Dyrus, in the meantime, is going to have Faker knocking on his back door. He's coming straight in there, uses the exhaust on Impact, but it's not going to be enough. Hasn't got the damage down, and Impact, is the tower damage going to come down? It just might do it. Requiem's going to come down. Yes, he does. Oh. Gets the double down the bottom. Goes down in there. Piglet's also going to go down. A Wild Turtle picks it up, and TSM suddenly turn it 3-on-1.
Such a beautiful play by TSM. The crowd backing them for that. And of course, now with the numbers lead, yes, we will take a Dragon. TSM happy to do that one. This puts them in a very close game right here.
Holy cow, where did that come from? Faker goes to the top. He tries to work on that turret. He should take it down. But meanwhile, TSM, they're looking to try and take advantage. They had their blue stolen. They're seeing if they can do the same.
And they've got control over it. The Abba did not have to use Smite at all, so he used it for the blue buff to secure it. But of course, SKT, Faker, knowing he had control, doesn't actually stay for that top lane turret. He would take too much damage for it. It's actually too much of a risk to go for it. SKT aren't taking massive risks. They're just getting fights turned around on them.
So let's check out this fight. This is the bottom lane. Expect the Dyrus ulti to come in any second.
And look at these stealth from Wild Turtle. It actually de-aggroes and lets him come back in late onto Piglet. And just having Tibbers just means so much in that.
And that crescendo from Mandu missed.
Oh, it did.
That crescendo missed on Xpecial. Just why you got that stun lock in there. So, well, Dyrus again getting jumped on. It's a big difference between these two. There was last time, but now that Catalyst has been picked up by Dyrus, he's feeling a little bit more confident, got a bit more hit points, but Impact still in control of this lane, I feel.
Yeah, I like actually that Dyrus went for double Doran's Ring instead of Tear. It gives him enough health to survive some of this burst, but Bengi is right there, likely to still kill him when the lane pushes down.
And that turret's got no health left on it. The moment that wave comes in, Dyrus has to try and keep that wave cleared as much as possible. Impact is low, though. If he goes for this one, he may actually risk his own health. There's no exhaust. Now you're going to see him as a good kick in. Dyrus is dead.
He is going to go down. He's likely to not land the damage on the Impact. In fact, just goes for the minions like that. Dyrus making sure to get at least something and try to protect his lane.
Well, that will be Impact getting away from this one. The odd one, he's going to come up this way and just protect that turret. He's going to skitter on in there with the rest of his spiders. He should be safe to defend this one and puts a lot of pressure down on towards him. Uses that smite to make sure he does clear it out. So, let's take stock of the situation, Freak. How are the lanes developing? Because still, the gold is just 300 between the two.
Yeah, so okay, the game is close. Wild Turtle had an early deficit against SKT, but he's starting to pull back. The early pushing has been turned around, and Wild Turtle's on his way towards a Blade of the Ruined King, which will actually allow him to survive team fights against Impact as well. You can see the scoreboard for yourselves. Minion farm across the board is going better for SKT. It's the fact that TSM are controlling some globals a bit better that's keeping them in this. It kind of looks like TSM would rather end the laning phase because none of those lanes are going well for them.
She was seeing The Odd One sticking around in this lane for a little bit. Dyrus now returning to them. Requiem will be available shortly. There he is back in towards that lane. Needs to keep that farm going on. Reginald putting some pressure down, but Faker actually turning him down. A lot of damage. Reginald goes aggressive, pushes his ultimate. Gonna get caught out. Faker gets him down.
That was unfortunate. Reggie thought he was about to get jumped on. He actually expected to juke a spell with his ulti. Unfortunately, though, this is not good for Odd One.
The Odd One realizes he's in the wrong situation. Bengi trying to get around to him, has got his ultimate available if he can get the other side. And the Odd One skitters away and gets away. Dyrus has come down to join the party, but it's not going to happen. There's no party for you, Dyrus.
Yeah, it's a nice idea to roam down to help your teammates. We actually see a lot of the top teams pull a top laner down to roam. The Chinese teams especially will pull them down for ganks. But at the end of the day, all Dyrus is really doing is holding a turret and losing his own at the top lane. So kind of too little too late. Unfortunately, couldn't really help his team.
Yeah, that will be Impact taken away. And that will be the first turret of the game that will drop in. It's SK Telecom once again starting to get that little bit of control that we've seen so often already.
And Dyrus just has a long way to go until he's really useful in this game. He'll look for a gank with Odd One, but I don't see Jax getting chased down here.
No, he's already backing away from that one. Knew what was coming. Just trots on away. Wild Turtle taking away these golems in this bottom lane. Has fell a tiny little bit behind Peglet in terms of CS, but building different items. Obviously, Wild Turtle we do see going towards that Blade of the Rune King. Piglet, of course, going for that Trinity Force.
Yeah, so what's going to happen here as the game progresses is in 2 minutes we'll have a dragon fight, or at least teams starting to take ward control for it. The early mid game has gone SKT's way. They've gotten better ward control, they've gotten better ganks, and that's going to make life very difficult for TSM. Yeah, Reggie's not going to get much out of that one. But ultimately, because lanes have been winning, because SKT are going to hit item thresholds sooner, SKT get to control the next few minutes of this game unless TSM make a crazy move.
They found Bengi. Bengi in the jungle. He's going to walk straight in towards Xpecial, who has that stun available. Will he go for it? Yes, he does use that stun. Odd One manages to get the cocoon down as well. There's just no damage to back it up because Wild Turtle wasn't close enough.
And Piglet and Mandu were well in position. If Wild Turtle went up, he got caught by a crescendo and exploded. Turtle needs this turret to stay alive. And until Xpecial charges his stun back up onto Annie, he won't do much.
Impact diving on towards Dyrus in this top lane. Exhaust was used already from Dyrus. He's keeping that lay waste down and the tower damage. And Impact, though, is starting to feel very, very confident in this lane.
Yeah, he's able to just like jump in there and burn summoner spells from Dyrus and say, all right, it's exhaust. I'll show up again the next 4 minutes and you won't be able to stop me.
And he's sticking around. Dyrus has realized he can't back away as well. He's starting to suffer for that mana as well. Needs to get that Rod of Ages completed as soon as possible, which is what he's hoping to go for. Wild Turtle continues to keep that farm. Piglet's been pushing that lane fairly heavily. And actually the ward control from SKT was so strong earlier on. There was a lot of pink wards on the map, but as it now, they have all timed out. So we'll see where they lay out that carpet of surveillance once again.
And it's really worth pointing out how well SKT, especially Mandu, are actually warding that bottom lane because they know Annie Twitch Elise has so much kill potential, and yet that gank has never actually happened. It was a misplayed 2v2 that had SKT die, but despite the fact that Corki and Zona are pushing over and over and over again, Mandu has kept that team safe with ward coverage and never allowed Odd One to get in.
This time around, Dragon spawns. TSM took it last time, remember, after the great plays. This time around, Bengi is close by. The rest of SK Telecom closing in. Impact's already running down from that top lane. He may be too late. TSM are going to start this one off soon. Dyrus is not there.
This is a huge risk. I don't think this goes well for TSM. Impact's already coming down, and SKT are stronger right now.
They are stronger, but instead they may choose to go for that global objective in their mid lane. They're going to come in. Crescendo does land. The Piglet's taken very low from this one. The ultimate from the Reginald not quite enough to take him down, but he's forced out of the fight.
Requiem where? There it is. And
boom! There we go. Dyrus picks up the kill. Impact tried to get that counter-strike down. Meanwhile, TSM, they're taking away the second dragon of the game in the mid.
Well, color me wrong. They dove in hard. They used the Z Elise Twitch part of that comp as a pick and just all-in Piglet. SKT weren't actually ready to fight that, and TSM got a free kill, and off that kill managed to take Dragon. That's incredibly flexible by that TSM lineup. The first half of that lets you get individual kills, and they can still fall back in team fights. So watch this. Piglet just gets straight up jumped on, and it's the Requiem at the end of the day. They know they don't have to overcommit. They know Requiem is still there, and it's just Dyrus being safe enough to guarantee the kill happens. But watch this jump in. He goes for the flash and just misses it. Just misses the stun. Impact nearly saves his teammate.
So close, but it was a flash. Tibbers once again from Xpecial. that started all that off. They weren't quite ready for the reactions to get away from this one. Cocoon on Impact. Impact's been pushing his top lane the entire time. Almost got that Trinity Force complete, but Dyrus picking up those kills has helped him out. You can see he's got that Rod of Ages and Sorcerer's Boots completed now.
And I want to compare the individual gold straight up, because Dyrus is 5,500 to Impact's 5,400. There's actually a small lead for Dyrus, despite getting honestly pretty ripped on in his lane. But we talked about the global in that top lane. Impact has to run down, whereas Dyrus presses R. That has given a lot of help to TSM. And to think to the TSM lineup, they've been running globals since forever. They're so comfortable with a Karthus running around, not running around as the case may be, and making plays.
And we can see the gold. You can see it's just 100 gold disparity, but actually there's a big swing because Reginald's nearly 1,000 gold behind Faker now. Meanwhile, the two bottom lanes, Wild Turtleneck Special, they've got a 500 gold lead over their counterparts Piglet and Mandu. So we'll see how that works out. Faker goes aggressive on towards Dyrus, and Dyrus quickly responds with that Wall of Pain.
But unfortunately for Dyrus, the cooldown difference is massive between Exhaust and the Blades. So that's still going to be a window that Dyrus has to be afraid of. In about a minute and a half, Faker can just re-engage.
Reginald trying to be sneaky, but he's actually stood right on top of a ward, so we do see Bengi and Faker sticking around here, maybe going to try and create something. I don't think they're going to go for Dyrus just yet, because they know the Odd One and Reginald are just off waiting in the wings.
Yeah, they are. This is kind of the thing, is TSM, they've got enough presence of mind, and they've actually started to wrest ward control back as well from their past few kills. TSM are able to play a bit more confidently. They just got to worry about getting outnumbered here on this blue buff.
This is all about the blue buff fight now. Dyrus needs this blue buff, honestly. Needs to keep that cooldown there, and the rest of SK Telecom are close by. There's a two-man down the bottom, so it is going to be a straight-up 3v3, and honestly, this is all melee for SK Telecom. TSM may have an edge here.
They do, I think. Actually, they're a little bit stronger right now. And this is so difficult. Impact goes in, but it's a little aggressive by him.
The Cocoon goes out there. There's a lot of aggression on towards Impact. He's taken low. The counter-strike working out, but it is Impact. Will he go down? No, he won't. The Odd One will get the kill in the end. It's a 1-for-1. The Odd One tries to get away. Bengi comes in, tries to flash in there, and not quite going to catch on. A 1-for-1, but it was a tight one.
That's not too bad of a trade, but of course this gives SKT control over this top lane turret. Dyrus comes in to help, but this might be a turret kill.
He doesn't have the exhaust, remember, he's already used it. Faker knows that, tries to go aggressive, double flash on towards him. He's going aggressive, he's going in towards the inhib. He's 2 towers deep trying to get the kill, and now he's going to get taken low. Requiem's not going to be enough to finish him off.
And it's going to be them going back in for the Odd One.
Back in the Odd One, he's taken low, has to repel away. The tower hits coming in towards Bengi. Dyrus goes back in. This could be a double. Faker's going to keep the tower damage down. Requiem standing there. Will he come out? He's got it available.
Is it going to be enough?
Is it going to be enough? Not for one, but he will get Bengi.
That is too aggressive by SKT. Overconfidence has been kind of the word of the day for these guys. Faker gave up first blood, face checking a brush. He said, yeah, I really got to check that. I'm playing silly. And then dives way too deep there and baits his teammate, giving Dyrus another kill. And this just freed up the map now for TSM. This is not good from SKT.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. SKT took the inner turret on the top lane during that play.
Sure.
That's a big thing straight there. But you saw TSM, they took their first turret of the game along that bottom. 1.5 minutes to Dragon. I feel we're going to have another tussle.
But the thing is, even though SKT are trading objectives, I think trading objectives is what TSM wants. TSM's late game is better than SKT's. All right, Jax is the Nightmare, that's fine. But SKT's lineup is entirely physical damage. It is not hard for these guys to build a Randuin's Omen or something and say, okay, we're going to ignore you now, BRB being better scalers. Whereas TSM have a lot of physical damage, they've got a lot of magic damage, and Wild Turtle, heck, even has true damage for what it's worth. I really feel like TSM, by playing a more controlled game and not face check random brushes, will just kind of automatically build advantage here that SKT has to work around.
They may have missed it back there, but I think when the Odd One went in aggressive towards the end, he went back and got Home Guard on his Sorcerer's Boots, just to make sure he could make that play.
Yeah, I think that was a really intelligent play. I've seen actually, every once in a while I've seen moves like this. I know Vulcan in the regular season had one where they like aced the enemy team, all recalled, bought Home Guard, and rushed Baron, and it was like the sexiest Home Guard buy I'd ever seen in a competitive, because it let them get Baron 8 seconds faster than they would have otherwise. It was a really great play. SKT, though, you look at them, and they're still playing the mid-game vision control game. They're still trying. Problem is, Odd and Special are extremely dangerous.
Ooh, Special. Danger, danger. Is he with that Oracle? 22 minutes gone. Just 100 gold tipping between these two teams right now. This is the closest it has certainly been between these teams. Special is clearing out those wards. SK Telecom are just off at the side. TSM are here in a 4-man position. Wild Turtle's not with them right now. And SK Telecom are going to go all 5. They're going in, jumping on towards Dyrus. He's in all sorts of trouble. Remember, Requiem is down. That Defile's not doing enough damage. TSM are getting wrecked here. We see one going down. It was X Special. The odd one has to back away from this one. Reggie is in trouble. He's running for his life. But it's going to be a double for Impact and a 3-4-0.
That's a 5v4 team, but here comes Wild Turtle!
Spray and pray going down, but it's not going to be enough. He dodges the counter-strike. That's going to be 1 kill. Impact goes down. Mandu's going to be next. Can he get on towards him? No. He's going across wards. He's visible, but he's going to get away. It's the double kill with the poison tick. Now they're going for another. This team, meanwhile, in the mid lane, Wild Turtle's pushing the tower. Oh, they're going to get on towards it. Piglet's going to turn this one back around. The Repel comes out, but it's only a matter of time. He's not good enough. Piglet picks up the kill.
Not a great move there. Wild Turtle looked for a pick on the Bengi. Bengi got out of this one. The Turtle gets a little bit of damage here. Good dodge by Bengi. I feel like he'll live.
Dodges out of the Sonic Wave. Bengi taking a lot of damage as well. Wild Turtle is certainly putting a lot of hurt down on SK Telecom.
And if it weren't for the fact that that teamfight was 4v5, that would have been a TSM teamfight victory. And that was the problem. That is the SKT mid-game rotations and mid-game decision-making that tends to make them win games. They found a 5v4 and they jumped immediately onto it.
And remember, Requiem was not available in that fight. That could have been a big difference as well. It was used earlier on, and it is available now. So, still very, very tight. That dragon is up. There's a pink ward from SK Telecom in the river. There's a bunch of wards from TSM in that river. But as it yet, neither team fancies going for it. You can see Dyrus, he wants to shove this bottom lane out. We see the mid lane, both trying to shove that lane. TSM, they may just try and focus that mid lane turret because Wild Turtle took that very low there.
But TSM's gonna want to wait about 20 seconds before they fight a real team fight, because spray and pray is incredibly important for a team fight. If Twitch attacks from normal attack range, Faker and Impact will reach him. But if he attacks from spray and pray range, he's out of reach, and that's a difficulty. At the same time, 10 seconds after spray and pray comes up, Crescendo comes up. So pretty soon, SKT is also on full power.
TSM have that full power. All ultimates now available. Tibber's also just back up there, and you can see they're already trying to push in. We see Piglet down that bottom lane. He's trying to push in, try and keep that wave back on towards that turret that Dyrus has already shoved on. Both of these teams, this really is teetering on the edge. This could be the team fight that turns it.
And what we just didn't see right there was the fact that TSM has no good hard engage. Corki was spotted bottom. TSM are the stronger 5v5 team, and if they had the ability to, could have dove that mid turret right there and just taken no prisoners. But the problem is, Elise lands a cocoon? Like, that's not the best real engage without Flash being up for Tibbers here for special.
Yeah, indeed. That seems to be their main engage point. Pink ward goes down. Bengi with that Oracle is going to go for it here. They're going to start the Dragon off. And this would be SK Telecom's first one. Wall of Pain goes in there. That is going to be the Dragon. Impact picks it up. Now they're going to engage. Impact getting caught out. Getting that cocoon. But, well, SK Telecom, could back away from it. But instead, they're going to choose to pursue. They don't really get a lot of damage on TSM. They're going to use positional differences here and try and push in towards it. TSM backing out there. Catching the stun used out there. That's not a good use. Impact may well jump on him. The counter-strike's going to go down. X Special gets locked up. He goes down. Spray and pray coming across, but the Crescendo's going to work out. Reginald does get in. He gets Faker down. That's going to be another one. We see another support dropping on the back there. Wild Turn's going away. The Ignite will finish him off. Impact will pick up the kill. It's a 3-for-2 to SK Telecom.
TSM were so afraid to start that fight, they didn't get a good AoE stun from Annie. She stunned only a single target. SKT can keep pushing in.
They're going to take down the middle turret. They could keep on pushing for that inner one as well, because they have their AD carry of Piglet and Impact in there, both with those Trinity forces. That turret is just going to tumble.
There's so much damage still available for this lineup right here. Dyrus also had run out of mana by the end of that one, so he's trying to regen back up and show up for his team. But SKT, this is one thing they are very good at, is once they win a fight, they take a lot of objectives for it as well. So suddenly 4,000 gold puts SKT up right here, and it's their decisiveness to say, we'll go for Dragon. We think we can get it before you engage. It worked out there, and now with the gold lead, they can get a lot of vision control here.
It just seemed that TSM just didn't want to pull the trigger.
No.
They just weren't quite sure. They kept backing away, and SK Telecom sensed it. They smelt blood and just went straight for the jugular.
I'm surprised too, because that SKT lineup was grouped up fighting against the Dragon. TSM go for a chance Baron, but the team's going to recollect soon.
Piglet was down the bottom, that's what they saw, and now TSM thought about going for it. They realized they're not in that strong position. The fact that Pumandu managed to put that ward just over the wall the second they started it, they seemed to sense it.
That was pretty fortunate here. Of course, Vangie also has a Sight Stone. That was actually his first buy right here, was Machete, Sight Stone, and Boots 1. And he's been making plays and also helping to get ward control. With that Sight Stone, it's been a big deal for these guys. To be honest, with very few exceptions, SKT has never been surprised by a TSM move. They've been in control here, and they've actually chosen some very smart fights here, the Korean team.
So, let's have a look at the items then, because these two teams have took themselves a bit of a step back from this team fights. They're realizing dangerous situations have developed. The AD carries, they have itemized very differently. We've seen from Wild Turtle, you can see Blade of the Ring, which went earlier on, and now that Infinity Edge. Meanwhile, Piglet has been off on his own for a while here, gone with that Trinity Force last Whisper and the Hex Shrinker that both him and Faker stacked in quite early on.
And that's actually a pretty smart move there. They invested in some early magic just to make sure they didn't get bursted out. But there's the dive on the Faker, some good damage.
Full-man crescendo from Pumandu there, managing to catch him out. Faker taking a lot of damage. That's a turret for a turret. TSM may keep pushing, but they have to deal with impact. He's just going to keep wrecking those turrets in the bottom lane.
And that was the issue we spoke about in the pregame, is no one is really good at dealing with Jax 1v1. It would have to be Reginald, but I don't even think Reggie would win that battle. Look how fast that's falling over.
Well, it's the most satisfying sound in the game of Jax beating on one of those turrets, and he does back him away. Piglet's going to defend off this top, so TSM, they tried to create an opportunity, but again, SK Telecom, they saw it coming.
Yeah, and now TSM are playing, I think, a little bit too afraid. A giant minion wave was stacked up in the top lane there, and Crescendo was down for SKT, and TSM said, let's just all retreat, let's not go to the top lane and punish that turret and use the minion wave. They're just going on full retreat, licking their wounds, and letting SKT dictate the pace now.
Reggie's gone up 1v1 with Impact, but I don't think he can do this. I don't think he can fight him, and he's not. He's backing away from this one. Imp is going to go all in, but the tower's already gone down. Tries to get away with it from the Living Shadow, flashes out. Impact's not having any of it. He wrecks him. He just lost 900 hit points. That's all he lost that whole fight.
Yeah, and here's SKT with the rest of their team just happily controlling the Baron. Look at all the ward coverage on the map around them. They'll get this before TSM gets in range.
That's going to be the Baron going down. SK Telecom with a 4-man. Dyrus not going to get close enough. Impact, he is a machine right now. He came in as a substitute, replaced Hom for SK Telecom. Tell a lie, that's a lie. That's a lie, that's a lie. Impact's been there all the time. I'm talking about Ozone. Instead, he's taken an inhib down, and he's just demolished that entire bottom lane. He's taken all 3 turrets in that one single push.
No one stopped him at all right here. The Cocoon on Faker won't mean much. TSM has to wait for Reginald. The problem is now TSM has to wait for way too much. They stopped trying to dictate the pace in the mid game. They froze up and stopped doing important things. They let the split push happen from SKT, and they let Baron control happen with the wards. Then they let Baron go down, and they still just didn't do anything. TSM stopped making moves, whereas SKT started turning it on, taking control of the map, and never looking back.
Black Cleaver on Faker. That has been completed. More importantly, Impact is just... Well, there's nothing that can stop him, honestly, because he's got that Thorn Mail now completed, so that means that Reginald and Wild Turtle don't want to get near him. Dyrus can't really do a great deal towards him either, because he's lacking in the ability power right now, because he had to go for that Zhonya's, and I am unsure how TSM are going to dig themselves out of this situation.
Well, I think the first thing that needs to happen is probably not the Aegis for the Magic Resist aura. I think getting the ability to have Odd One and Reginald just straight up kill Piglet would help, but here comes the fight.
Oh, Reginald went in for that one, made the call. It may not have been the right one because Mandu got the crescendo across. That's going to be Wild Turtle trying to get in there. But he does manage to get the kill on Faker. Backs away. It's a 2-on-2 so far, but it's special being focused by the AD support. He's going to use the cleanse. Dyrus after Zhonya's Hourglass can't get on towards Piglet. He is going to have Requiem available in a moment, but I'm not too sure. Will it get anyone? No. Piglet's already life-stealed it back. And that was a 4-for-2 exchange, and it was TSM that went aggressive on a Baron up SK Telecom.
I think that was the only choice they could have made, though. It was a 5 versus 4. They saw Impact in the top lane and said go, but they said go 10 minutes too late. They had already given up so much of their base, so many kills, and the Baron, as you mentioned. SKT are just very far ahead right now. It shouldn't take much for them to close the game out.
No, you can see systematically removing every tower from the game. All 9 outer turrets down. And now, of course, the inner ones on the inhibitors starting to fall. 2 inhibitors already down for TSM. They are up against it. We've only seen this a very small handful of times in professional tournaments, a team come back from this situation. It is looking grim for TSM, and SK Telecom, they are looking to make it to the quarterfinals here.
And all that you want to look at now is how willing is SKT to dive. And in fact, they don't really have to dive. They can actually just walk in with a big super minion wave, and they'll probably win the team fight outright. All that TSM has to hope for is, well, look, we have waves of minions coming into our base, and the Karthus and Twitch. Those guys do scale very well. It's very likely too late, but that is just in the back of their minds as that 2% chance that these champions carry them. SKT just has to play a smart game where they rely on the super minions and go in with a wave, and it should be the same fights we've been seeing the whole time. SKT are in the lead, they just have to make sure they execute right from here.
They certainly have done so far, that's for sure. Everybody from SKT went back, purchased themselves a lot of items, because with that 11,000 gold lead comes with it a chunk of items. Impact got that QSS, so he's making sure he's not going to get locked up anymore either. Infinity Edge popping in for Piglet, so lots of damage across the board. Bloodthirster also picked up by Faker. And you see there the timing, well, we are pretty much on it. 33 minutes and 25 seconds is the count, 33 minutes and 35 seconds the average time for SK Telecom, 35 minutes for TSM. I believe we're going to be hitting one of those markers.
I believe it's going to be a little bit bad for TSM though, as SKT moves on in. They've got everyone bought back up, full health, full mana, no Baron buff, but that doesn't necessarily matter. And they look for the easiest place of ingress. There's no turret here at the top lane, and they can get basically 3 times as many super minions now flooding into the base with his inhibitor falling over. Here they go.
Here they go. Faker's going to be the focus. He is going to go down. The pop will come out. Reginald will pick that one up. Dyrus drops in the meantime. Piglet comes in around the side. He takes down Reginald. Requiem will come out. He's going to count on towards Impact, who gets cocooned up, locked up by the Tibbers, but is still going to survive. You can see he's just life-stealing back off those minions, and that will be the 3rd inhibitor of the game for SK Telecom.
And there's no more spray and pray for Wild Turtle. This should be the game-winning push here for SKT.
Impact taking up, using that counter strike to defend all the attacks. He's going to go down. Wild Turtle will pick up that one. Bengi going in. He's gone a bit deep. He's low on hit points. Oddwell might be able to get on towards him, get that damage down. The turret hit not going to be enough. Special getting locked down. Piglet just wrecking now. Picks up the double. Can turn it into a triple. Yes, he will. And that will be the game for SK Telecom T1. The 3rd match of the day, and they go 2-0 for the day.
And if SKT can win one more game tomorrow, they guarantee themselves a spot in the quarterfinals. They'll be playing for the top 4 and on if they can keep winning. Very close game for the first 20 minutes, but from there, SKT just turned it up, made the moves, took control, fought the right battles. 22
minutes into that game, they were equal on gold. And every team, honestly, in this tournament will be looking at what happened there and thinking, SK Telecom, they are strong mid-game, let's not get about it, but that was all on that one singular fight around the Dragon mid lane.
Yeah, it was. That was TSM looking forward and then saying, I don't trust our engage. And by waiting too long, there were a lot of things that actually fell down there. So Wild Turtle had popped his stealth. He was going to have 5 seconds of attack speed plus spray and pray. Huge damage there. You had the ability, you had Wall of Pain actually down in the Dragon Pit. Magic Resist Shred to allow Karthus and Annie to do more damage. You had Tibbers up along with the stun being ready for a special. But because that all waited, Wall of Pain was down. Dyrus ran out of mana. Wild Turtle no longer had attack speed. Annie wasted her stun charge on a single target stun on Jax or Riven, and not on Tibbers on 4 people. TSM, I think, got a little bit too gun-shy, and that was kind of the story of the last 15 minutes. They were too afraid to make any moves. SKT took charge of that game.
And it seems they just didn't have any control on Impact in that top lane. He just managed to snowball it away from that very early gank they had on Dyrus with Bengi. Let's go over to Quickshot, though, and the guys to take us through the analysis desk.
Thank you very much, D-Man. That was an incredible game to watch. It was one that I think many people were looking for, and TSM really put on a show. Let's start all the way back at the beginning with the picks and bans. Twitch, Annie, Zed, and Karthus, as well as the Riven, the Jax. So who was to pick this one up?
You know, I really like TSM's picks and bans that time. Of course, we've seen them run that top lane Karthus in the LCS, but I doubt that SK Telecom had prepared for that eventuality. And having it with such a strong assassin like Zed is always great. And then kind of putting on their best royal impression with the Twitch Annie lane as well. Very exciting and a very aggressive style of play. I think Freak is absolutely right in that you had these. They were a little bit gun-shy with it in the mid-game. You are all in with that kind of composition, and if you're too late in pulling the trigger, it can really hurt you.
And I'm also really glad that I finally see a good matchup against Corki. People generally play Ezreal, Caitlyn, Vayne. These are not good matchups for those champions. Like maybe Caitlyn a little bit early game, but you finally see Wild Turtle picking Twitch. It's really, and there's TSM chants going on in the background. Twitch is a skill matchup against Corki, where Twitch is in favor because he outscales.
Twitch is Corki is really good at doing very, very short trades, and Twitch is generally better in the longer trades, although with any support, the threat of that stun actually helps them scale into the game, especially when you can have a Requiem to back you up.
Yeah, TSM's plan coming into this was to bring global presence to the bottom lane so they could get their bottom lane rolling. Thought they were going to actually bring more and even go with like the jungle Nocturne that they were thinking about, but when Elisa's up, you're going to take that away.
Yeah, I guess what was great about SK Telecom's composition, though, and the way that they played it out, was the Bengi's level 2 gank with the red buff really caught Dyrus off guard. And this is something new that I haven't seen from SK Telecom before. And they're really picking up cues from, say, the Chinese teams that are more likely to do that here. And so we're already seeing some of these adaptations. And, yeah, not only that, but they knew that by getting Jax a snowball, and if they could hold down Zed in the mid lane, the split-pushing threat would be unanswerable. And so they basically force TSM to all in them in a 5v4 situation. If you're watching for that and you can let Jax split push, for me, that's really where the tide turns right here.
There was also something that I really liked from that game. It was pretty clear SKT really wanted to focus, first of all, getting Jax going and rolling, also trying to shut down Dyrus. We've seen a number of ganks. And the very first, or the second dive actually under the tower where Dyrus has managed to throw down that Requiem, pick up a double kill. Wild Turtle got a kill as well in that bottom lane. But one of the other things that stood out for me throughout the game was that in the first 10, 15 minutes of the game, TSM had very good Dragon presence. They secured the first one off for a good kill. They won a fight because, Impact simply wasn't there. They managed to pick up a kill onto Piglet and then secure the Dragon. And it was very positive for TSM in that time frame.
And they were dictating the pace of the game right there. Impact decided, they weren't, SK Telecom was not decisive enough. Should we push down this lane? Should Impact come for this Dragon fight? And that moment of indecision, TSM really capitalized on that well.
That's the danger when you gank Karthus post 6, is that if you get him down and you go low in it, he will just press his R, and then people on the other side of the map can immediately play on that. Even if you don't get kills, you chunk your opponents, and that can transition into a Drake. TSM really reacted well on that Requiem. They knew it was coming, engage on bottom. Unfortunate crescendo miss from Pumandu, but then they turned it around into a Dragon, and that was a really solid play. Got TSM definitely back in the game, and props to Dyrus for pulling that off under the tower.
And speaking of the other side of the map, I'm actually really concerned as SK Telecom progresses through this tournament. Pumandu has not been impressing me with his laning. Like his mid-game and late-game warding, crescendos, they've been great. But in lane, I see him getting hooked a lot by Mithy against Lemon Dogs, getting like backwards crescendo happening right there and getting both of them killed. I feel like Pumandu is going to have a lot of trouble if he ends up playing a more aggressive bot lane. Like you just see right here, Turtle and Special they're top tier in NA, and they had a lot of trouble.
Well, talking about Turtle, before you carry on.
And now you can go ahead. Turtle.
Well, I was going to talk about Turtle's epic double kill. We've actually got a replay of this one. So let's get this replay up on your screen. It is after one of these sort of team fights. And look, it didn't start very well for TSM. Crepo, talk us through this one.
Yeah, basically what we're going to see here is that what SKT1 does really well. There's almost nothing happening on first glance. But then Jax is going to go for a really good engage on Dyrus, I believe. If we roll the clip, we can see it. Jax will jump in actually in a bit. Jumps in, there's a stun on Dyrus. Dyrus is almost going to get blown up. Then Reggie counters, goes in really good crescendo as well. Reggie's now 1v1ing Faker in the back. Faker will outplay him. Everybody has to disengage. You think this fight is over? Reggie managed to get away. Unfortunately, mechanical screw up, gets into the wall, done. You think everybody's dead, but here comes Wild Turtle. He says, well, everybody just uses cooldowns, flashes the Jax E, and this is a hero play. This is why Wild Turtle is really damn good. Anybody on a world final stage that has as much, confidence to do this it's just amazing. Any other AD carry would be really scared to do that. He says, well, you used all your stuff on Reginald already. I'm just going to outplay you. Flash the Jax E, turn on Spray and Pray, go in, kill Sona. Too bad right after, I think,
Yeah, odd one chased into the river, kind of spoiled Turtle's happy birthday, but it was regardless a very, very strong play from Wild Turtle. The Flash and Blade of the Ruined King active were essential for them turning that around.
And not only that, but we were all sitting here talking on the desk about the 3 Melee champions that SK Telecom had, and that was a huge factor in that play because you could abuse that range in that situation pretty fearlessly that close to the turret.
And that's why this game was so close, because of the mentality that you have when you're with those 3 Melee carry champions. We even saw SKT diving a little bit too far because you have to commit with that type of team.
If they didn't shut down Dyrus early, imagine if this game went really stale early to mid game, and then later on, Dyrus could have got the Requiem's going to finish off the bot lane. Then late game, they would have had a lot of trouble. Having 3 melee characters having to go through a Cardus, trying to get to a Twitch is really damn hard. So TSM definitely had a shot here.
One of the things that we've been highlighting throughout the build-up of today, talking about the loss that TSM suffered from SKT. I know the phrase that Crepo's been throwing around a lot is the conceptual play from TSM. Stepping back, looking at the compositions, looking at the players, and it's shown through. Their comp really worked. They could have done. They were pulling it off on a mechanical level as well, but SKT just made more correct steps.
I mean, they didn't really ever have that answer to the split pushing Jax, though. I mean, we saw that when Faker tried to go in on him in that bottom lane situation.
Reggie.
Oh, Reggie, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Reggie went down there on his Zed.
Confusing Reggie with Faker now,
Oh,
honey?
jeez.
Well, quickly, last thoughts, Crepo. Do you have anything to add before we roll on?
I really like their conceptual play, although I think they make the mistake later. The fight that lost them the game, if you remember, Drake was done, moved into mid lane. That's really quick. But then TSM got pushed out of that lane. They got zoned to the left and bottom, and they tried to run, and you can't run from that composition. They should send in Dyrus first. Eventually, in that fight, even Dyrus went out of mana. That means SKT1 was really smart. They just ignored him. They let him go out of mana. If Dyrus would have gone in first, took the hits for his team, then he would have then it could have possibly turned the fight around.
Yeah, I think Freak really summarized it quite well. They were a little gun shy. They needed to pull that trigger maybe a little more often in order to make that comp work. So, unfortunately for TSM, they have lost. Let's actually take a look at how this affects the Group A standings. OMG and SKT1 share that first place. However, SKT1 with that additional loss puts them 1 game behind. TSM are now 2 and 3. Gaming Gear and Lemon Dogs running out the table. I also want to add that this is not 100% tickets for TSM. If they win the rest and OMG lose, there is a possibility TSM can go up, but it's very, very slim. Guys, you've seen where the team stands. Let's see how you guys on the desk are faring with your predictions. Everyone, including the fans, have gotten all 3 games right so far today. And while you have all 3 more wins on your record, there's no movement in the standings, which means Crepo, despite your 7-game winning streak, you're still lost. You're 5th in a 5-game horse race. So, let's take a look at the next match of the day. It's going to be Gaming Gear versus Lemon Dogs. Crepo, since you are riding the hot streak, we'll start with you. What is your opinion on Lemon Dogs taking on Gaming Gear in this matchup?
I'll have to go with Lemon Dogs. At least the European team will come out of this matchup. I just think, Gaming Gear is getting outmatched by every other team in this group. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That wasn't expected for them to be on the same level. They're just here to get experience, get their name out there, and do as best as they can. Lemon Dogs will really want to prove that they're definitely a really good team as well. They're the first team coming out of the normal split in the LCS, and compared to Lithuania's Gaming Gear, which is a wildcard team. So definitely Lemon Dogs.
I'm with Lemon Dogs as well. I think it's hard to go against that pick at this point, and I think Crepo said it quite elegantly.
Yep, Lemon Dogs. Not much to add. They're just good. They're just good.
Kobe?
They're good. I have to take Lemon Dogs. Gaming Gear are happy, though, so they'll return. Even though they have lost all their games, they still walked away with smiles on their faces. Maybe they pull out one here.
Oh, we'll have to see how they do. From your position in the standings, it's clear that you, the viewers, know a thing or two about this League of Legends thing. So drop some of that knowledge on us and help us upgrade our broadcast.
Head over to bit.ly/worlds1, answer a couple of questions, and you'll rest easier knowing you did something good for someone else.
Yeah, you're always thinking of others, Kobe. All right, we've got to take a quick break, but when we return, it's time for our 4th match of the day as the wildcard Gaming Gear looks to put the squeeze on the Lemon Dogs. Plus, SKT's top laner Impact will hop on up to the interview lounge. Stick around, the Season 3 World Championship will be right back faster than an Annie Flash Tibbers.